Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Marvel Rivals Championship cast. We are in the Pacific today, and I have sought us out an OCE team, so I have brought along the wonderful Liger. How are you doing today?
I am doing good today, Tetcher. I'm ready for some exciting Pacific gameplay right now. The OCE region in MRI did so well. It's exciting to finally get into MRC this month and see how everyone's faring, to see how they're going to make it to those amazing streamed matches for the MRC for the Pacific region when that kicks off. But what's our first matchup for today, Tetcher?
Well, I picked one that you have a little bit of history about, as we were scrolling through games to work out which one we were going to pick, and you said, is this team here? That's my team. So we have picked a team that you are familiar with, and there will be zero biased except for all the biased. So let's head on
100%.
in and introduce our teams. We have LastMinSign versus your team, Buff Jeff.
Yes, Buff Jeff, a very, very amazing team. Content creator team, my fellow content creators. We've known each other for years, and our captain Kaplunk decided to make a team. I unfortunately can't play as often, so I'm on the sub roster for now, but the whole squad is there ready to go. Let me tell you, from left to right, we got Punch9K, PBG Games, Gallus, Nautila Day, Kaplunk, and Zaza Stack. These are some crazy players. But tell me about this other team that we got on the other side in the blue corner.
For starters, I'm really glad you said Nautila Day because I would have pronounced that one so wrong. On the other side, for LastMinSign, we have Secrept, Pugbutt, nice, Land Shark Demon, ironic, against Buff Jeff, Nevoy, Den 6969, and Baguette Fap.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
intense names, intense lineup, and already some intense bans and picks going off already. Adam Warlock is locked out for LastMinSign, as well as Emma Frost is going to be out of the options for Buff Jeff. I don't think they're very excited to play the Emma, but we'll see. But they're protecting the Bucky, and oh, there's a Bucky player. That's right, Gallus is definitely going to be playing that Bucky.
So I have a question for you, just out of pure interest.
Yes.
So as we know, for these MRC games, there is a huge prize on the line. For starters, there is their share of the $14,500 cash prize. But also, there is the opportunity to get into Ignite, but only for Asia, EMEA, and the Americas. The OCE teams, I don't know if they would just get an invite to OCE if they did it, or would they qualify for Asia, technically? What is your opinion on that, or do you know?
Look, I do not know for certain. I know it's been changing, the variables have been changing, but look, we're going to pitch it to them. We're going to let them know, look, if these teams coming out of MRC this season are worth it, are going to be able to, you know, stand with the likes of Ground Zero Gaming, who've already locked themselves into the mid-season finals. I don't see a reason why we can't get them qualifying. The Pacific region has so many amazing players coming out of the MRC. So many these teams are going to be proving it right now, this week coming ahead, as we obviously go into some live matches. So what more could you want? If there are players out here putting on a show, you got to get them on the main stage.
If an OCE team gets first or second in case of qualifying spots, they should get the prize. That is how it should be. So we'll keep an eye out for that to see if that ends up happening. Psylocke banned out at the end by Buff Jeff, not wanting to deal with that backline flank, even though they do have a little bit of that backline protection, protecting hero scene a little bit less in some of the regions, but it's creeping up in some in the more.
Pick your hero.
Now I'm going to get my bias out of the way. That's right. It's Zaza Stack, the Black Widow one trick of OCE. If you know TikTok live streams, if you know the YouTube's Twitch live streams, Zaza Stack is the Widow in the OCE lobbies tearing up a storm. There's obviously going to be some picks rolling out right here. But what I want to bring attention to is that they also have the Mantis from Secrept on the other side.
No.
That's going to allow them to buff maybe the Black Panther. Now, how do you handle a Widow? You bring out the dive, and that's what Nevoy is going to be doing with that BP.
Going to be trying to snipe them on the backline, but like you mentioned, Mantis and also Cloak and Dagger with that Terror Cape giving you 28% vulnerability and the 15 to 18%, I can't remember exactly which one, buff from the Inspire of Mantis. Add that to a Black Widow. You're going to be able to one-shot basically anybody in the game if you can hit them both at the same time. But on the other side, like you mentioned, LastMinSign, they have that BP and will be attempting to do similar.
A very, very interesting lineup that I'm seeing so far. Captain America has also shown up instead of the Groot, changing it away from the Guardians team up we saw maybe cooking at the start. But look, we're going to go out the doors now. We're going to see what they're really going to pick. These players, they always like to change at last minute, but let's see if we roll out with the current 6 and 6. Looks like we're definitely rolling out, and it looks like Punch is switching it up and going to walk out on the Thing. Now, the fantastic team up is there in effect for Buff Jeff right now.
They do have that invisible woman, like you said, swapping off of that cloak and dagger, so they will get that team up. No human torch, but still getting a lot of extra sustain with 3 out of the fantastic 4. And the thing is going to be incredibly effective here with BP on the board. That thing, Yancy Street charge, grounds enemies, meaning that they lose their ability to dash. A fantastic counter into the Black Panther, and of course, giving your team that extra protection with that damage reduction can give you a huge ability to keep your backline alive on that thing.
And speaking of the backline right there, PB rushing the Ultron already, taking him out of the skies, and Avoid returning from spawn, trying to get back to their team. But it looks like LastMinSign are going to be the first to get some percentage on the board, putting Buff Jeff on the back foot, forcing them to regroup and get Kaplunk back online, get their Mantis back grouped with them for now. LastMinSign getting 10% on the board already. And, you know, just getting ready to try and handle this Black Widow who's already lining up the shots. That is the question right here. Who's going to get that first shot? Who's going to get that first pick to start up this next fight?
And for coming through so quickly that they're already out of the fight by the time we're able to observe them. But trying to make their way around. Was spotted by Gallus, but there's that Black Widow. Lands these javelin and the pickup. That's going to be a double with the help of Pugpa. But PBG will be able to get the turnaround and pick off that Captain America. But they're dropping extremely low here, being forced to wait until their strategist can get back and top them up.
Now that is a tough one. The Wakandan Sphere, so lethal, so powerful, and a BP knowing what they're doing. Navoy is a signature BP player in the region. Absolutely expect nothing less from them. But going forward, you know, 46% on the board for them. LastMinSign trying to cook up a 50% guaranteed lead, and they got it for now. Buff Jeff really need to figure out how to approach this next fight. They got clobbering time ready. They got that meteor oil ready to fly as well, and of course a plasma burst from the Widow can start up a fight just as well. Let's see if we get that first shot on Ultron to start off. Maybe Buff Jeff might get the pick they need here. Probably trying to figure out how to approach this next fight with Navoy on the flank. Are we thinking it's going to go off right now with a bit of a Wakandan speed to start it off? Stunned by the Widow right there. Clobbering time goes out from Punch. There it is, setting up the thing. Ultron's in the sky. The rage of Ultron's kicking off right there. The Landshark Demon is going to keep them sustained, hold them back, and it doesn't look like Jeff's going to be pushing in right now, but Pugba gets the pick on Nautilus Day in the back. The Captain America's diving, and that's the one winding it up right there. Another pick onto BB, pushing him on the back foot. Gallus is going to have to retreat for now. That's a 90% lead for LastMinSign. It's going to be a last-ditch effort if Buff Jeff are going to try to make it on to contest now.
Drops that Fantastic Force for the extra protection. They played this a little bit more defensively. You can see Buff Jeff are adjusting. They notice Black Panther is on the board. They've moved over away from the Mantis to the Loki, that regeneration domain, giving them an invulnerability on the backline. But it comes a little bit too late. With the control picked up and the slow adjustment that is going to be the first round for LastMinSign, they are able to take the Imperial Institute of Science as we're heading on to Warrior Falls.
Oh, Warrior Falls, very open area, and I believe one of the best maps to actually utilize terrain destruction. Probably top 3 for me, alongside Dracula's Castle, I would say. Very, very much can change the fight, but Ultimates are online, of course. We've got 4 ready to go. Den 6-9 with the Eternal Bond's going to be ready. Black Panther with the Bust is ready to go. The Scream of Bust, the Roar of Bust. I like to call it different names because just spice it up a little bit. And then, of course, Baguette ready to hit them with the Meteor M. Will it be a Dunkmaster Baguette here today? That is the question. Tetcher, I'll tell you what. Our region, OCE, we're known for the Magnetos. I don't know why, we just are. We had 3 stellar Magnetos in the MRI. It was just so exciting to see them go head-to-head at each other in the most intense bout, taking that, you know, top spot to take themselves to the land mid-season.
And it's such an intense character to have, to be efficient on, due to the fact that it is probably the tank right now. If you go back literally half a season ago to the beginning of Season 2, it was almost certainly going to be Groot's season. But since the changes, with the rise of the Punisher and characters like that, suddenly Magneto has exploded in popularity, having incredible protection for Star-Lord compositions, which have raised up in terms of usage, and the ability to try Meteor and Punisher, and of course shield your own Punisher with that higher bulwark. It has given you huge turnaround potential, as we're already seeing the Eternal Bond coming down. Invisible Boundary to counter from Nautilus Day as they try to make their way in for a setup. It's a little bit of a slow roll fight as that Captain America Pugba is still harassing the backline and will get wiped by Zaza as they return.
Zaza with the clean shots already lining it up.
Nice.
Navoy manages to get Kaplunk, but Zaza hits the revenge on Navoy right there. That's the Widow we want to see right there. Taking shots, gonna signal out this Ultron, put him on the back foot. LastMinSign is gonna be pushing back into their safe position because the Buff Jeff Widow is there, ready to line it up, and Mantis is gonna pop the ult right now to keep them undefeatable, give them some sustain to keep contesting, but Buff Jeff don't have enough power to get that capture for now, and they're gonna have to regroup with the rest of the team.
Soul Rejuvenation, setting them up. They rush on in even before a lot of their strategists and vanguards actually got there, just committing with that Mantis, and it is enough to push Buff Jeff off the point. Once again, LastMinSign at 40%. Buff Jeff aren't able to make their way in, so they're going to try something a little bit more aggressive. Wolverine for isolations. Jeff to try and punish these backline pressure from Puff as they try to get into the backline, but Jeff being forced to retreat at least a little bit here. Freedom charge, getting that extra bonus health and just trying to rush the backline. But all this distraction is just allowing more time for LastMinSign.
The time is on the favor of LastMin right there, but KaPLUNK has switched to the Jeff, as you just mentioned. For those that don't know, this is the MVP in lying wait. Jeff on KaPLUNK is a disaster for the enemy team. Let's see if it actually pays off. Let's see if we do get a massive hits Jeff and absolutely scoop up last minute at the last moment to try and get themselves some position on the board. Right now, going to move forward, keep sustain going. PB's holding the front line for now. We're going to see if the moment is here. The Meteor might get charged up, catching the Void in the back line. We're going to see the Rage of Ultron kick off from LastMinSign. A big Meteor taking out the Ultron, shutting down the Rage. There it goes right now. We do see Cap has been absolutely scooped and thrown off the map by KaPLUNK on the Jeff punch. Gets a pick onto Mantis right there. Maternal Bond is being thrown down from Den69 to give him sustain, to keep him on the point. 97%, 98%. They got 100 in their bank. It's overtime ticking down. Last stand coming out from the Wolverine, trying to take him off the map. PB gets done. That's going to be another one down. The Void's down, going to be on the back foot as overtime ticks out. Buff Jeff finally turned the tide, getting themselves some percentage on the board, and it's going to go to a next fight.
They were able to hold that great turnaround, and they also staggered LastMinSign extremely with those pickups, getting one by one, taking that Captain America off the board and then being able to focus down the BP as they tried to hold overtime. This has given a lot of extra bonuses for Buff Jeff to be able to try and take the fight. They also burnt every single ultimate from LastMinSign while holding on to that eternal bond from Nautiloday. They are now prepared for a turnaround fight as high ground will be where this is coming in as Gala setting up a portal, interesting here.
Ooh. Bit of a portal. We thinking this is going to be it? We thinking they're going to turn this one, Tetcher?
They're going to try it. They're going to make their way on, trying to get onto the Ultron. Strange going in for melee against them. Pick up the Soul Rejuvenation from Secrets. It just comes off cooldown with the Eternal Bond being matched, but Zaza is outside of the healing range, just gets away from Ultron, making their way up to the high ground, entering into that aerial duel as the battle on the ground comes on in. The Void also swapped over to the Wolverine for the counter. Last stand onto that Strange to burn them through, and Ayamakamoto is interrupted. They are getting cleaned out here. Buff Jeff in serious trouble off the side.
What an excellent Wolverine right there, taking off the Magneto, getting that Vanguard off the map out of the sustaining position that could have potentially contested it. Overtime ticks down and out, and LastMinSign take the waterfall, which means they take Burn It T'Challa and win the first map in this series.
1-0 up. We saw a fantastic turnaround attempt there, altering their composition. I like the idea of bringing in the Strange and trying to portal in for your team. They ran all the way back to spawn. They just wanted to make sure they were there. I was wondering if they would potentially try to swap off to make sure that they didn't have this Strange in the fight, and then whoever gets taken out first swaps to the Strange. But it ended up not mattering as they just got absolutely focused and burst down in that fight from the Void swapping onto that Wolverine, allowing them to just keep the pressure on and get some of the pickups. 8k damage between a Black Panther and a Wolverine is pretty solid.
Absolute solid output right there. You're going to expect that. You're going to expect that from anybody playing Ultron, especially in our region, the Pacific and OCE region. Ultrons are usually banned out. We don't see Ultron ever see the light of day. Same thing as the Emma Frost. It's going to get banned out. But right now, Ultron getting through the cracks, it's going to be a tough one. You think, you know, with the Zaza Stack Widow, with a lot of range, they could potentially have Magneto in the sky there to counter as well. Maybe the Ultron could get value, but when you had, of course, Navoy diving in on the Black Panther, getting so much value, just turning their heads, not allowing them to just line up the shots on the Ultron, it was definitely going to be a tough one for Buff Jeff going into this. But it looks like, you know, the positioning worked out, and it's going to be that one there, done and dusted. That's going to be the first map down, but we're going to go to a second map, and you never know, things might change.
Things might change indeed. There is a chance of a turnaround. That Ultron, like you said, fairly uncontested in the air, was landing shots consistently across the board. It's a hit scan character and ended up with an over 60% accuracy. Obviously, you want to be close to 100 as possible, but considering you are also being pressured by a Widow that entire game, that's pretty solid when you're having to play that evasively at the same time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But now we're gonna change it up. You know, we're gonna go into this next one. It's gonna be exciting to see how this second round goes, how the tides might change, or it might be another win. You never know. It could be a clean 1-4 last minute. They could go 2-0 in this series, moving on to the next stage. But Buff Jeff, you know, they're formidable. I personally know them well, and I believe that they can turn the tides. They do take a bit of time to get warmed up. Question is, you know, are they fired up yet? Maybe even bringing out the Human Torch to really re-fire it up. Would you like to see a Human Torch, Tetcher? That might be a good pick over there.
Human Torch is, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the game, and I don't think that's a controversial opinion. When you have a character that, 1, can fly, 2, has a speed boost, so is highly mobile, has a dash that is also mobile, also crowd control, also gives you bonus health, while also having burst damage and a dot and zoning control, what more could you possibly want from a character? The Torch is an insane pickup, and if you play well with it, with either that Invisible Woman to give it the Fantastic Force and the barrier, or you play it with a Punisher, or in some cases something like a Psylocke on the low ground, causing a distraction, it is so hard to deal with.
Very hard to deal with, but looking now, Psylocke is going to get banned again. They're going to go for that Widow Protect, very common target ban. Once people know they're versing Buff Jeff, they know there's the Widow one trick, so we've got to get that out of the way. Luckily, Buff Jeff do get to play Widow again. They've banned out the Panther. Navoi's Panther's not going to be an option for last minute again, but they've also got rid of the Mantis, which means we don't get the pocket onto the Widow. So it's a bit of a, you know, you counterban us, we counterban you sort of situation, which is good on both teams' part right there. But Emma's been protected. We might see the Emma Frost from Baguette this round.
Emma Frost, and there is that protection onto the Human Torch. But again, it's a little bit riskier. You're playing into that Black Widow. There is still the chance of damage boost for the Widow, but she doesn't actually need them. It just helps. She has the ability to blow up people just on her own. Mantis makes it a little bit easier, but there are other damage boost options. There is, of course, that Terror Cape from a Cloak and Dagger, who is currently untouched in the ban phase. There is a Storm, who would be a great dueling target to go against that Human Torch to try and create a distraction away from the Widow. And then, of course, there is the Rocket, a little bit less consistent, but that Cosmic Yard Amplifier, the Ultimate Seer, is going to give you a little bit of damage boost as well. So there are still some solid options if they want to commit to these Widow 1 bursts.
Ooh, and a solid option is banning out the Ultron right there. No way do they want to see that again. No Ultron, no Black Panther. They want to make sure they're not facing that. And the Punisher is also going to be banned by last minute there. A bit of a tactical choice right there. We'll see. Not too many Punisher players on Buff Jeff, but nonetheless, it looks like we might see the Storm from Kaplank. Change of the roles right here. Punch actually switching to strategist right here. Going to be switching off the Vanguard role. Maybe going for a sort of 3-2-1 composition here from Buff Jeff, as last minute are going to be loading up that Jeff Nado. Ooh.
This is on the current live patch, meaning Jeff Nado was nerfed quite significantly in terms of the Storm ultimate charge and the pull-in ability from that Jeff Nado before Jeff actually consumes people. So running this is going to be a little bit riskier, but they've set themselves up quite nicely for it. They've got that Magneto for that extra barriers to make sure that you can try and sustain through these early setups here. You've got yourselves the Cloak and Dagger. You have allowed yourself to set up with a quick dive with that Eternal Bond and a Terror Cape to try and weaken people so you don't need to eat them if they're already KO'd. So it's a pretty cool turnaround here. LastMinSign, though, they are also bringing out the Storm of their own, not going to commit to a Human Torch, even though they could even go for a Firestorm of their own, and their other duelist is Spider-Man.
Ooh, Spider-Man, Navoy. Must be a dive master out here. No Black Panther, gonna jump on Spider-Man, you know, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Maybe, but the punk is there. It's a beautiful skin, of course. Shout out, you know, to Hobie out there. Hobie Brown with the beautiful punk Spider-Man skin. Looking good, looking sharp, ready to go. Already going to be in the backline, going for Buff Jeff. Let's see how this first fight unfolds. Mission's going to unlock in 10 seconds. Question is, who's going to take that first capture?
Not finding anything yet, but looking for it. Would love to try and get themselves a Storm if possible. If they could get onto that Widow, that would be huge. Zaza does get a quick spot on them, but isn't able to get the right angle. As right now, it's a duel over who can find the right pickup first, gets onto the Kaplunk, and gets completely locked down. Great turnaround from Buff Jeff.
Kaplunk on the Storm, absolutely feeling confident right now in this guy's not going to worry about the Spider-Man, absolutely blowing him away with that tornado power right there. But we're going to see Magneto move on. PB's taking a step forward, trying to contest the same against Pugbot's Magneto as well. It's going to be a battle of magnetism. As we know now, LastMin do have capture for now. They are chugging up that percentage, and BuffJeff going to need to make a big play here. Kaplunk getting a pick on the Void in the back right there. We're going to see Punch heal up the Magneto right there. But Jeff going to give that sustain to their Vanguard in the front lines, but most of the day is there as well. Are we going to see another pick from here? Gala's taken out, Secreted in the back. That's a Luna down. That's going to give them a bit of momentum with an absolute strategist taken down for LastMin. Woo! What a shot.
Zaza is uncontested back here, even with the Spider-Man. There's so much pressure. This Jeff is working perfectly to plan with everyone just forward. They've got the Winter Soldier, they've got the Cloak and Dagger, and they've got that Magneto just pushing in as a straight line. Then they have that Storm, damage boosting back and forth in between going on to Zaza and just pushing in with Gallus. While in the meantime, Jeff is just stacking everyone in the row while doing damage, creating so much pressure. They are going to get picked off by Spider-Man here as they did move out on their own a little bit, but this composition is working great and Zaza gets revenge.
There it is right there, and the fate of both worlds kicks off with Den 6ix9ine pushing forward. That's the one right there. Gonna set it up on the dance floor. Luna's ready to go. It's gonna be some good sustain, but the Hurricane, the Mega Hurricane, is gonna be shot into the fight right there. Combined with the Jeff Nader is shredding him up. LastMin being taken down, Pogba pushing it. Not till the day gets picked off by the Magneto, but it's still good value for BuffJeff right there. Bit of a Meteor M gonna be charged up. Will it crash down on anybody? It does connect, taking out the Loki. Den's taken down. We're gonna see Spider-Man get absolutely amazing over here, rushing for the Jeff. Will it be enough to get the pick? And it does. Uppercut hitting out. Punch taken down. Zaza gets a shot on the Void to avenge them right there. There's a bit of contest right here. LastMin in favor, 75% onto the point. Will they be able to hold it? It looks like BuffJeff are gonna take back capture.
That was great. The Omega Hurricane came out from Landshark, but it was picked off with the help of Zaza and Kaplunk. They focused, with the help of Zaza and Gallus, getting the focus and blowing it up before the Omega Hurricane got too much value, meaning Kaplunk and Punch got complete freedom here. As such, with that ult completely burnt out, Landshark moves over to the Human Torch. But again, you are just a flying character versus a Black Widow, meaning that the Void has to start focusing onto this Widow, but for now it's just dealing with the front line.
Oh, the front line is moving forward right here. Bit of a pick. Zaza taking out the Human Torch. As you called it, Tetcher, you knew it was going to be a problem for them, and they absolutely made it happen. Bucky and Spider-Man having a bit of a 1v1 underground right now. Looks like they're going to retreat from each other and try to regroup with their teams. The portal hijinks on this map is exciting, especially on Krakola. Gallus gets a pick right there, taking out Baguette. That's the spice and nice that you want to see from a Bucky. We do see 80% close to that Kraken impact, Tetcher, and you know it can be very impactful when a Bucky gets winding up.
They've also got a Loki on the other side, meaning there's more chances at resets if they can land onto those floats. Landshark is on their third character of the game as they've moved over to that Hela to try and deal with the counter storm. Here comes the God of Mischief into the fate of both worlds, but they are going to try and commit to it with Omega Hurricane into right at the end to extend it. They don't Jeff Nader because Punch is taken out by Landshark, who gets the second Landshark Demon. May have just single-handedly turned that fight around with the Carbon Crush. It is going to be BuffJeff losing the point. LastMinSign take control, and we need BuffJeff. Someone needs to swap to a Strange right now and try and make their way back in, as it was not banned out.
Definitely going to need that Strange to get onto point right now. The question is, maybe they could make it just by their bare feet alone. The question is, it's 92%. Is anybody going to make it from BuffJeff? They have ultimates online, 96%. It's going to be ticking forward. We do see contest coming from them. Jeff is already on point. Going to go for a bit of a munch. Doesn't manage to connect with anybody due to the Bulwark shield protecting Magneto. Zaza getting a pick in the back. Overtime sticking down. Is anybody there to contest? Magneto Meteor from PPG misses the Lunar Snow for now. Landshark gets the pick on the Storm, taking him out of the skies. Overtime still ticking down. Lunar Snow is dancing it up, and Don and Pogba get picks, and LastMin control Krakola and take the first round.
They tried to delay it. They tried to, like you say, do it just with leg and fin power alone, using the delay from that Jeff to just make sure that it was touched for that overtime, but they just were so staggered. Not portaling in means they come in one at a time, and they are picked off as such. That is going to be LastMinSign now one win away from moving on in this upper bracket, but BuffJeff, they do still have that Kraken impact as Gallus was picked off, being the first one trying to make it onto the point.
Yeah, a bit of a tough start for Buff Jeff there, coming out of this second map already. You know, it's really not looking good for them. They're going to end up in lower bracket if they don't bring this home. But, you know, LastMin feeling confident right now, as you said. Got the ultimates online. Sonic Seduction ready from Emma Frost. Going to be a good one. We're taking to the skies with Hella again. Going to be big impact, big duels potential there. But Kraken Impact is ready to go. Jeff is ready to actually bring it back again. The question on everyone's mind, right?
What is the question?
Oh, the question on everyone's mind, I apologize, is are they going to bring it back or are LastMin just going to take it?
We will have to find out. We do, of course, have that slight buff we've had since Season 0. Jeff is not charged up. You can see on the screen it's 8%, even though it is showing that they are currently in the process of using the It's Jeff. It is just a small bug we've had for a while. The boy sticking with the Spider-Man and already has a spectacular spin available, so we'll be looking on the flank to see if they can catch anyone out of position. Kraken Impact is burned right at the start there and is immediately going to be picked off by Landshark with a Psionic Seduction to focus them down. They do get the boy as they once again dive into the backline, but Landshark Demon is cleaning up right now. Carbon Crush and the final shots with that Blackthorn dagger, and they are cleaning the point right here. Gala has swapped over to their own Hella to try and turn this round.
What a massive penta KO from Landshark Demon on the Hella. How exciting is that? Big powers, big picks there. Feeling confident knowing that they came out of that going forward and they have ultimates still online. Oh, it's looking very favorable for LastMin right now. Gonna have to have those potentially 5 ultimates to contest Buff Jeff's maybe 3 or so. But Buff Jeff are formidable. They're pushing in. Zaza gets the pick right there onto Baguette, taking out the Emma Frost. The shots are being lined up. There it is right now. Navoid trying to get a flank pick right here. Gonna be caught up by Den zoning him out, and that's gonna be the sustain you want from the Lunar Snow. Fate of both worlds, but the Plasma Burst takes out the Hella. Hella being taken out by the Sniper. Navoid gets a double in the back, taking PB and Kerplunk. There's the picks you want from Spider-Man. Just when you thought the ults were not in favor, they managed to get some value off it and turn down Buff Jeff's push.
But Buff Jeff are now charging up. They burned the Plasma Pulse, but they now have that Omega Hurricane. They're approaching that It's Jeff. They have Media F. They have Eternal Bond. They are setting themselves up for their own wombo. It's all about if Pugbutt can get a good Iron Bulwark to keep everyone alive in this fight, or potentially a Media M to focus them down. Here it comes, the commitment, Kerplunk. Can they It's Jeff this time? Goddess of Death to try and get out of danger.
Oh.
They are able to get a Fate of both worlds. It just came off cooldown. It was right when they needed it, as we will see LastMinSign. If that had been a second earlier, then Buff Jeff may have been able to turn that round. PB trying to push on in, unable to get the blow up. Counter Meteor M from Pugbutt is going to be right onto it. Lovely dodge from PB there as they will push back in.
Ooh, what an amazing one right there. That is the power right there. 86%. It's looking like the final fight. PB gets a pick right there, getting script out, and Pugbutt is pushing. Kerplunk gets the res, bringing Nutella there back in the fight. Overtime is ticking down. We're going to see how it unfolds. Punch is pulled off the map. Do they fall down? A bit of a maelstrom of madness. Doesn't get the Spider-Man. PB's on the magic, trying to slash and dash, trying to go for Hella. Overtime's over on. Baguette gets one, Den gets one. Overtime's ticking down. Do Buff Jeff make it? And it times down and out in favor of LastMin, taking the second round and taking the entirety of Krakola and winning the series against Buff Jeff.
Very nice reattempt. I loved the adjustments this time, swapping onto the characters with the fastest rollouts. They bring the Rocket, a pretty reasonable speed rollout character, especially on this map where you can portal and then descend from above to allow you to get closer to the objective quite quickly. This can help you out significantly. And then, of course, having that BRB to bring someone else back. They brought the portal in from Punch so they could reinforce, and then even the magic for just the fastest rollout possible. But in the end, LastMinSign, they just had too many ultimates. Being able to drop that Fate of both worlds. Secret literally had it the second the Omega Hurricane Jeff Nado came out in order to keep their team up. Otherwise, that could have been a crazy turnaround. It just came down to timing.
Yeah, definitely the timing on Loki right there. Den doing so much work, so much sustain, absolutely countering out every time that we could see an offensive ult that could come from Buff Jeff. You had the Loki shut it down. You had the Lunar Snow there to dance. Just so much more healing output that couldn't match at the same time Buff Jeff, who had the Jeff themselves, of course, and a bit of Rocket as well. Amplify could be there as an option, but Even the Cloak and Dagger Eternal, it just wasn't going to match that double Lunar Snow. We saw a Lunar Snow ultimate almost every fight just because Loki was there bouncing off the same timing as Secrept, and that's how it's going to be. Navoy constantly in the flanking backline, shutting down what could be, SVP on the Widow. Makes sense. Zazasek putting in a lot of work, but Navoy was there to shut down the potential that could have come from an unchecked Widow. Even if they couldn't get the pick on Widow, just at least distracting her was value enough, allowing Pugbot and Baguette to win the Vanguard lineup when it came to Punch or PB, Magneto or the Doctor Strange in the front line, even Thing at one point. It just wasn't enough for them to handle. Good formation from the squad right there, allowing them to take them down. And there it is.
That Widow did work out quite well, like you said. 10k damage, which is going to be the third highest in the game, just behind Kaplug and behind Pugbot, who also did insanely well on that Vanguard. But you can see, like you said, double fate of both worlds is huge, and you can see that in that healing numbers. Pudge doing a fantastic job, getting 9k on the healing output, just under 10. Not Day, 10k as well, but their team was just getting focused down very effectively, and of course they would try to deal with Spider-Man, constantly diving them in the backline, but then 19k and 16k. There's almost over 10k difference between the total healing output numbers, and a lot of it comes just due to the fact that there is a reason why the meta strategist lineup for multiple seasons, up until just this season basically, has been Loki Luna. It was banned out for a reason.
Yes. Definitely banned out for a reason. I honestly think going into, some updates coming up soon, I hope we finally see some changes. Maybe it'd be nice to see Adam meta again. We do love a big res. We love the idea of, being born again, bringing back everyone. But the only difference, especially this meta, is that Ultron became meta. But what did Ultron bring? He brought back Triple Strategist. That's right. That meta is still valid, and you're just going to play Loki Luna anyway. So even if it changed, it still kind of worked.
And then, of course, there's the difference between the standard ban format that we saw here, where you're banning for both teams, where if you try to ban it out, you don't get it for yourself, versus the Ignite ban system, where you only ban for your opponents and pick for yourselves. This can lead to these one-siders, where you've mentioned we have been seeing a little bit of the Adam meta in some of the regions, like EMEA and Asia in particular. America have been banning it out fairly consistently. They just don't want to deal with it. And Ultron has crept in massively in Asia, along with Mantis, and then but the fact is, once you start getting to those points where Cloak and Dagger and Mantis and Adam start creeping up in terms of usages, people are like, okay, maybe we should ban these. That's a little scary. Oh wait, Luna and Loki are still really good.
Yeah. Even if you're shutting down the Invisible Woman or the Ultron, Luna and Loki are there. That's just the strategist role right now. Just so many great picks to choose from, allowing many teams to build diverse hero pools around all of these picks. And at the end of the day, even when all four of those options are gone, Cloak and Dagger's there. And Cloak and Dagger is just so consistent.
And
still to this day, so consistent. And Invisible, so many value.
Yeah.
Who's left?
Jeff.
They're all there.
Jeff and Rocket. They're like the only two who...
Jeff has like 3 team-ups.
We have seen... I don't know if you guys have seen it. We have seen 0 of Jeff's new team-up with Venom.
Ooh.
I forgot it existed until someone reminded me of it last week. It's just not happened.
It should be reworked. It should be Jeff gets absolutely home run battered by the Venom into the backline and he's all activates on landing. That should be it. It should just be a long range Jeff ult.
But with
that's it.
Jeff
just throw him
instead. Actually,
just Venom just bat him.
Awesome if he threw him into Jeff's ult and you could just Jeff ult from further away with less warning.
Yes.
Actually, that'd be awesome. I want that. Because I was thinking like combo with like Jeff and Venom, where Venom ults and swallows people with the Jeff ult team up potential, like a Jeff Nado, but with Jeff swallowing from the Venom Feast from the Abyss. So yeah, lots of options for future Venom team ups. We're giving NetEase some ideas at this point, and maybe we shouldn't.
Hey. No, bring it. NetEase, bring it out. We want some fun. We want the wackiness. Let's go. Let's bring it.
You're on a team called Buff Jeff. You're biased.
Listen. All I want is more Moon Knight in this meta, please. That's my boy.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. He got buffed. He did get buffed. We might see more.
He got buffed. He got
a little bit of a health boost.
A little bit of a HP up. He got a beautiful skin. The moon now burns. Phoenix Knight is here. Maybe we get Phoenix herself to show up as well. That'd be nice.
I'd hope so. That would be a fun one to see. Oh dear. Well, Liger, thank you very much for joining me today. Before I let you go so I can do the member shoutouts, where can people find you?
Of course, my name is Avatar Liger on all my socials. You can find me everywhere. You can also find me on the Marvel Rivals and Marvel Rivals OCE channel, casting up MRI and MRC in your local regions, wherever you are. You'll see me, you'll find me. Don't worry, I'm loud enough. You'll probably hear me across the road, across the nation, across the seas, across the continent. Don't worry, you can find me, Avatar Liger, everywhere. And thank you very much, Tetcher, for having me. This was so fun. Thank you for coming through and, having a look at MRC in the Pacific region. It's very exciting to see how things unfold. My squad buff, Jeff, had a bit of a rough go, but, I know they're hitting the books. I know they're hitting the coaching sessions. Next time we see them, they're going to be climbing up and making that comeback better than ever before.
Lower bracket is not an elimination. There is still hope. We've seen teams climb all the way through that lower bracket to get into the top 8 in some cases in some of these regions, and in one case, top 4. So there is always hope. So thank you very much for joining, and I will let you go for the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Huge thanks to Liger for joining me today, and a huge thank you to you for watching the rest of this video. If you enjoyed, then please consider liking the video and leaving a comment to help with the algorithm to help boost these videos out to more people. MRC views are of course a little bit lower than Ignite, so helping boost these out so that people can see these games of the potential talent of the future. That would be incredibly appreciated. You can also help by subscribing and ringing that bell so you can see when these casts go live, as well as my news show, the Rivals Esports Recap, that comes out every Monday. And if you also want to support, you can send a one-time donation by hitting the thanks button on my channel, or you can become a member. If you become a member, you get early access to videos, behind the scenes if I do any lands, as well as getting an extra shout-out of your name at the credits of the news or in these casts like these wonderful people. Dub Alt, Arso, Doki Pokey, and John. Thank you all very much for your support, and thank you all for watching. I have been Tetcher. Big thank you once again to Liger, and I will see you all tomorrow.